You're watching Channel 5, and now live, the news team that's keeping you in touch. Galen Svanis and Gail Nye, meteorologist Jay Cardozi, and Jeff Connor. This is Channel 5 News 10 o'clock report.
4 long years of pain and anger haven't stopped a Des Moines woman. She wants to know how her son died.
She's convinced that a terrorist bomb killed him, that the U.S. and Canadian governments covered up his death. Just before Christmas 1985, an Army-chartered DC-8 crashed near Gander, Canada. All 248 American soldiers died on board. Investigators blamed ice on the wings, but parents of the soldiers and some Canadian officials suspect something else.
We feel that the government and the Canadian government covered up the truth. We feel that it was a terrorist bomb because of all the unanswered questions.
Mullins wants Congress to reopen the investigation. Well, some survivors of yesterday's Honduran jet crash are beginning to tell their stories.
The 727 crashed and burned near Tegucigalpa, killing 131 people. 2 Americans who survived have been brought back to the United States. Now, some of the passengers say they'd been told to fasten their seatbelts for landing when suddenly the plane seemed to shake violently and plunged just before it hit the hillside.
I went through a blaze, and then the next thing I knew, I was sitting, I was on my back, belted into my seat, in a field right next to the plane, and the plane was just an absolute fireball.
In Oakland, California, the man who was found buried in the rubble of Interstate 880 isn't out of the woods yet. Doctors say Buck Helm is doing a little better today, but he's still hooked up to a kidney dialysis machine. His lungs, which had given him some trouble, are working better, though. Meanwhile, the repair of the Bay Bridge is underway with a huge crane trying to reopen one of the main connecting roads between San Francisco and Oakland.
The shuttle astronauts are packed up and bedded down. They're coming back to Earth a few hours early tomorrow to beat high winds at the landing site. The shuttle's due to touch down at Edwards Air Force Base at 11:32 Iowa time. ABC and Channel 5 will carry the landing live. Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Reagan will be winging their way home, too. They're wrapping up a controversial visit to Japan, sponsored by a Japanese communications company. About 10,000 people paid between $35 and $70 to attend a gala concert today. Some of the proceeds will go to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library.
Every day we do things that we take for granted. Pick up a phone, call a friend, go to a movie, catch a bus. But for the 1 in 6 Americans with disabilities, these activities can become chores. Iowa Senator Tom Harkin wants to change that, and he's authored legislation that's already passed the Senate. The Americans with Disabilities Act extends civil rights protection to the 43 million Americans who are disabled.
Ranging scope. I mean, it's covering everything from making sure that interpreters are available to telecommunications access 24 hours a day, to public transportation accommodations.
But opposition to the bill has already surfaced. One Greyhound bus employee said his company may have to lay off at least 500 people in order to make the changes the bill requires. The House is expected to vote on the bill by the end of the year.
Well, still to come, there's going to be more playing around at Willard Elementary.
And we'll tell you what's black and white and red for a century. In the state of Iowa, there are many towns which have celebrated their centennial, but it's rare to find a town which has a newspaper that's reached the century mark. Roger Riley reports on the 100th anniversary of the Sidey family newspaper in Greenfield.
The newspaper was first called the Adair County Democrat. It was first published on October 10th of 1889. The name of this paper was changed to the Adair County Free Press. Over 100 years, this paper has chronicled events of this area, including the first paved road, bobsledding in the winter, and a presidential visit.
Is page 6 our jump page in here?
Yeah, over there.
Well, that's got to be it. Okay.
Ed Sidey owns and runs the paper, which was founded by his family. He says of all those stories, some of the big headlines are not his favorites.
Ralph Hoyt, a boy of 14, I think, at the time, had killed a wolf while walking into town from the country. The wolf apparently attacked him, or at least didn't back away, and he took a pitchfork and gave battle.
David Seide has worked at the paper for around 10 years. He is often asked if he will follow his father's footsteps and carry on the tradition.
Well, I don't know right now. It's just, I'm not going to say it's hard to tell, you know, in the next 100 years if we'll be here. We hope we are.
The basic question is whether towns like ours will be in existence. I'm betting that they will be.
Reporting from Greenfield, Roger Riley, Channel 5 News.
One member of the Seide family has left Greenfield to find a career as a columnist for Time magazine. Hugh Seide profiled the paper and Greenfield in an article earlier this month.
Well, thankfully, we didn't have a repeat of last year's drought, but parts of southern Iowa were still pretty dry. In the southwest, much of the grain harvest is in now, and yields have been as high as 140 bushels an acre, even though the rains came late.
The rains we got were really late in the growing season. Evidently, we had some that came at the right time, evidently, because corn is good. About 5 acres made about probably 25, 30 bushel, and the rest of it looks like maybe might make 70 or 80.
Yield figures may have gotten a boost from the fact that this summer wasn't as hot as last year's.
Willard School in East Des Moines didn't play around when it came to building a new playground. It took volunteers only 5 days to build this gigantic jungle gym. The school raised more than $40,000 this last year. Donations came from parents, companies, and the community. The whole plan started off when the school invited an architect to sit down with the kids.
The architect would say, what if you could have anything you want in a playground, what would it be? And the kids would say, I want a dragon, or I want a castle, or I want a maze.
Well, with those ideas in hand, parents picked up the tools and followed the architect's blueprint. They saved $80,000 by building themselves, and they created a park free to the public.
It's like a great one, too.
It is. I'm going to go out
While we're
and play.
speaking of kids here, we want to also mention that we've extended our Keep a Kid Warm program through next Tuesday. We have a great response so far, but we'd like to have even more coats. You can drop those off at any of the 18 Camelot cleaners in Des Moines, the 5 Mayfair cleaners in Ames, and of course you can also bring them here to our studios in Ames or in Des Moines. We'd like to have as many coats as possible, and like we said, keep a kid warm.
And we don't need our coats right now. It's so beautiful outside. It's
That's
just,
right. There's going to be absolutely no weather-related problems that you can't get out and drive those coats up here, so do be sure and get them to us if you can. As for the weather, beautiful conditions, folks. I have all the details after this. Stay with us. Weather's next.
Tonight's Channel 5 weather is being brought to you by Honda of Ames. Head to Honda of Ames during their Goodbye sale.
Good evening, folks. Well, all the chilly weather that we had late last week is now drifting off towards our north and east, but it did give a chilly day for the Great Lakes states. In fact, they had highs of 40 and even 50 degrees up for those folks, but the warm air returned to the central portion of the United States. 60s lurking just off towards our east, and then 70s for much of the state of Iowa, and even a few 80s off in portions of Nebraska that is. Now closer to home, a nice day, lots of sunshine anywhere you go. Temperatures for the most part were in the 70s statewide. They ranged from a 78-degree reading up in the far northwest in Sioux City, middle and lower 70s throughout central Iowa, 74 degrees in Algona and also Guthrie Center, a 73-degree reading for Ames, 72s for Fort Dodge, Atlantic, and Lamoni. A little bit cooler now off towards the east, but still a very pleasant afternoon. 66 degrees up in the northeast was the cool spot in the state, and very nice afternoon as well for central Iowa. Let's check out the almanac. We can see our afternoon high temperature. 74 degrees was the official high at the airport. That came after a morning low of 40 degrees. We've been as warm as 87 degrees, though, back in 1899. Not a drop of rain. The sun will be returning to central Iowa tomorrow morning at 7:36. Now, nationally, just a lot of dry and, for the most part, clear weather governing the central portion of the United States. A few thunder showers now broke out through southeastern Missouri, and that was along a trough of low pressure that's currently stretching from that area down into Texas. That's going to miss us off towards the south. For the most part, high pressure dominating from the northeastern United States westward to the southwestern portion of the United States. Now, the big weather problem tonight is in the way of a potent weather system now coming into the northwestern United States. In fact, they're expecting anywhere between 3 and 5 inches of rain from northern California northward along the coastal areas of Washington. And in the Siskiyou Mountains of northern California, they have a winter storm watch posted for tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. Folks, they're expecting 2 to 3 feet of snow. So definitely, if you want to go skiing, that's the place to go this week. There's going to be a lot of snow out there. Now, we're not expecting any snow in central Iowa, at least for this week, because we're going to be dominated by lots of clear, dry air. Warm temperatures and Indian summer is going to be the rule, so do be sure and get out there and enjoy it if you can. Let's check outdoors right now in central Iowa. We have cloudy skies right now in Des Moines, 58 degrees. Ames is partly cloudy and 57. Our dew point temperature, 43, a south wind 6 miles per hour, and a rising pressure, 30.11 inches of mercury. Now for tomorrow, here it is. Lots of sunshine once again. Looks like a carbon copy of today. A few clouds down towards our south and east, maybe giving them a few sprinkles down there. But again, back in Iowa, lots of sunshine and temperatures right back up into the 70s. Few 80s off towards the south and west. It's going to be beautiful, folks. Let's check the forecast in detail. For tonight, we're going to see clear to partly cloudy skies and nice conditions all the way around. See your low temperature bottoming out right around 44 degrees. For tomorrow, we'll bump it right back up into the 70s. Look for a top temperature right around 76 degrees under a mostly sunny sky. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy and still rather nice. 48 degrees for your overnight low. And then Tuesday, Indian summer definitely continues. 76 degrees, I guess. Don't put the sweaters away, or don't put the shorts away, I should say, just yet.
That's right. We're going to go into November with 80-degree weather.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that down the road we're going to regret this.
Yeah, it always seems to pay off a little bit later on.
Sure
We have the heavy snows then.
We'll forget that for now, though.
Thanks, Jay.
Don't think of that. Well, Jeff's on deck, and they've made a decision on the World Series.
That's right. Last night we weren't sure it was going to be played at all, but now it's going to be played for sure, right?
That's right, but let's hope that warm weather lasts because the World Series may go into November. We'll hear what the commissioner has to say next on Channel 5 Sports. The earthquake-delayed World Series will not resume until next Friday night. Game 3 was originally scheduled to take place at Candlestick Park in San Francisco on Tuesday. But today, Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent announced that it would be necessary to delay the series for an additional 3 days.
It was important for baseball to know its place. I think we have found the right place. And the definite schedule is very attractive to us because we can now plan to play on Friday. And I think we will have met the mayor's expectations in terms of traffic.
Games 3, 4, and 5 will be played at Candlestick Park on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and if needed, Games 6 and 7 would be played back in Oakland. Now, the A's have a 2-0 lead in the series, and today Giants manager Roger Craig announced a change in his pitching rotation. Scott Geraltz will start Game 3 for the Giants, while Oakland will counter with Game 1 winner Dave Stewart. We've got plenty of NFL highlights for you coming up on Channel 5 Sports Extra. The Dallas Cowboys were looking to pick up their first win of the season today as they were in Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. And what a game in Washington, D.C. as the Redskins battled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs scored 2 touchdowns in a 22-second time span. We'll tell you all about it on Sports Extra, which is coming up in just a few minutes. And Galen, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm beginning to think you're doing this cowboy thing out of spite and for no other reason.
Not at all.
Okay. Yeah, we'll check back on that one.
Thanks, Jeff. Computers do a lot of thinking for us, but can they outthink us?
When we come back, you'll meet a man who took the challenge. Don't go away.
Coming up tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we'll report on the Des Moines City Council's debate on that proposed odor ordinance. We'll begin a series of reports on safety down on the farm. Also tomorrow, there will be a major new exhibition unveiled at the State Historical Museum. We'll tell you all about that in the News of the Day at 5 tomorrow.
And finally tonight, you could call it the ultimate contest between man and machine. The winner of the World Computer Chess Championship on one side of the board, its human counterpart on the other. It was Garry Kasparov, who hasn't lost a chess championship since 1981, against Deep Thought, a computer which can analyze 700,000 board positions a second and think up to 20 moves ahead. The game didn't take long. The computer called it quits after Kasparov's 52nd move. Kasparov says chess takes more than logic. It takes fantasy and intuition to win. They'll never be able to match that.
Yeah, that's nice to know that a human mind can still beat out a computer.
You know, I'm going to let my computer beat me because it's predicting nice warm conditions, and hey, it can win. I don't care. I don't care. Beautiful weather overnight, folks. Cool and nice, 44 degrees when you head off to work tomorrow morning. Comfortable conditions in 48. And by your lunch hour, beautiful, 65. Try and eat outdoors tomorrow if you can. Now on the 5-day, lots of sunshine throughout Thursday. Temperatures well up in the 70s. Then a chance of some rain moving in on Friday. Temperatures dropping back into the 60s, but it's still going to be beautiful for this time of year. What can we expect? I mean, it's late October, and It's just beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice throughout the rest of the week.
You betcha.
Can't complain about that.
That's right.
All right, well, that's our news for now. Thanks for letting Channel 5 keep you in touch.
Stay with us. Sports Extra is up next. Good night.
When you see news happen, get in touch with a news team that's keeping you in touch. Call the Channel 5 News Line, 280-9740 in the Metro, or toll-free 1-800-858-5555. You're watching Channel 5.
Welcome to the Sunday, October 22nd edition of Channel 5 Sports Extra. Tonight we're keeping you in touch with an expanded look at today's NFL action. We have highlights from 6 of today's top games, and we'll begin at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City as the Chiefs face the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas has the worst rushing defense in the NFL, and it showed today as the Chiefs made it look like a track meet. Christian Okoye rushed for 170 yards and a pair of touchdowns to lead the way. A bright spot for Dallas came from James Dixon. He returned a kickoff 97 yards for the touchdown. Could Dallas win it? No. Steve Pellure was the backup quarterback in Dallas until they traded him away to guess who? The Chiefs. And he got the last laugh today. Final score, Chiefs over the Cowboys 36-28. Dallas is now 0-7 on the season. The Purple People Eaters are back. Today the Vikings defense really did a number on the Lions. 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 3 fumble recoveries. Yes, the Vikes show why they are #1 defense in the NFL this season. On the offensive side of the ball, Herschel Walker rushed for 89 yards and a touchdown as the Vikings beat the Lions 20-7. A defensive struggle in Philly this afternoon between the Eagles and the Raiders. After a scoreless first half, Randall Cunningham put the Eagles on the board on the quarterback keeper, and it's 7-0. Philly added a field goal to go up 10-0, but Steve Berline got the Raiders back into this one. A 24-yard scoring strike to speedster Willie Galt, but that's how it ended, 10-7. In Miami this afternoon, Bob asked Sherry to marry him. No word on Sherry's reply, so let's go to the highlights. Dan Marino to Mark Clayton, and the Dolphins had a 17-6 advantage. Packer quarterback Dan Majkowski tied it up late in the game with a 10-yard touchdown pass to Sterling Sharp, and it was 20-20 with under a minute to play. Dan Marino then marched Miami down the field and put the game into the hands, or should I say the feet, of kicker Pete Stoyanovich. He boots a 33-yard field goal. The Dolphins pull it out 23-20. In the nation's capital, the Redskins played host to the Buccaneers. A blocked punt was returned 33 yards to give Tampa Bay a 7-0 lead, but the Skins scored 29 unanswered points to take a commanding 29-7 lead. In the fourth, Vinny Testaverde hits Lars Tate for a 34-yard touchdown, and after a successful onside kick, Testaverde comes through again. A 20-yard score, and the Bucs were closing in, but the Skins hold on to win it 32-28. With Candlestick Park still under earthquake repair, today's 49ers game with the Patriots was moved to Stanford University. The Pats used the flea flicker to open up the scoring. Steve Grogan found a wide-open Stanley Morgan, and 55 yards later, it was 7-0 New England. Joe Montana suffered a knee injury. He had to leave the game on a cart. He did come back to the sidelines, but did not re-enter the game. Steve Young comes on to replace Montana. He finds Montana's favorite target, Jerry Rice, a 50-yard touchdown. The Niners win it. Final score, 37-20. In today's other NFL matchups, it was the Colts over the Bengals, 23-12. The Bills beat the Jets, 34-3. The Oilers shut out the Steelers, 27-0. It was the Cardinals over the Falcons, 34-20. The Broncos beat the Seahawks in overtime, 24-21. And the Saints beat the Rams, 40-21. In San Diego, the Giants over the Chargers, 20-13. Well, a lot's on the line in tomorrow night's edition of Monday Night Football. The Chicago Bears will be in Cleveland to take on the Browns. Now, the Bears need a win to stay tied with the Vikings for the lead in the NFC Central, while the Browns need a win to stay tied with the Bengals in the AFC Central. ABC's coverage right here on Channel 5 gets underway at 8 o'clock. Well, coming up, both Hayden Fry and Jim Wallen had positive things to say after their teams went down to defeat yesterday. We'll hear what they had to say when we return after this 60-second timeout. Welcome back to Channel 5 Sports Extra. Despite dropping a 26-12 decision to Big Ten rival Michigan, Iowa head football coach Hayden Fry feels that his team is making progress. What did the Hawkeyes in yesterday was the outstanding performance from Michigan quarterback Michael Taylor. In his first start in 4 games, he passed for a pair of touchdowns. He ran for another. Michigan rolled to their 3rd Big Ten victory of the season. Following the game, Fry was not upset by his team's effort.
Our guys, we were prepared. We had a good game plan. We moved a heck out of the ball early. We got after them defensively. We'd seen him play. Of course, we hadn't seen Taylor. But he's the guy that led them to the Big Ten championship last year in the Rose Bowl victory, and he did a super job.
He added that dimension of scrambling, and I think that dimension really helped Michigan to make some of the big plays that they made.
Jim Walden's Iowa State Cyclones played their best game of the season yesterday and almost beat the 25th rated Oklahoma Sooners. ISU quarterback Brett Oberg had a record-breaking day, completing 27 of a record 49 attempts for a school record 411 yards. And although ISU came up 3 points short, Coach Walden said Oberg did the best that he could do. And that's going to do it for Channel 5 Sports Extra. Good night.